Welcome back. Time to talk racing. Keith Hillier and Greg Childs. What a day Greg had yesterday. Better Loosen Up was the star. There's no doubt about Flemington, but Greg Childs rode 4 winners, one of them on protest. He rode Shiver's Revenge to a quite spectacular victory, and he copped a suspension at the end of the day. Keith, you can't do much more than all that, can you?
You can't. It was Collingwood at the races, Bruce, but the stewards acted like an AFL tribunal because 3 top jockeys were suspended, Mick Dittman and Harry White, along with Greg, all out for 3 weeks.
Greg, welcome. And what's your situation? Are you thinking about appealing? We do have some big races coming up in the next 3 weeks.
Yes, Bruce. I'm going to get the transcripts from yesterday's and watch videos, and I'll make my decision on Monday. But as you say, these horses were all leading up to bigger races in a couple of weeks' time, so I've got to think seriously about it.
Let's talk about the incident a little later in more detail, but we should really reflect on Better Loosen Up because he'd made the headlines all through the week. His return to racing had been compared with Tulloch's in the early 60s and some of the other great racehorses who've come back. He went to Flemington yesterday, he had lots of fans. He didn't win, but I don't think he disappointed either.
The comeback commenced late last year at Lindsay Park. A period of rehabilitation followed his operations. Then Better Loosen Up progressed from walking to cantering and swimming, and finally galloping. The legs which had carried him to fame withstood the pressure of training, and his return to the track had excited thousands of racing fans. Former champion jockey Roy Higgins is recognised as one of the most creditable judges of a horse and its condition, and the 6-year-old passed the test.
He does have a good condition line across him, and he is well muscled. You can see he's done a lot of groundwork, and more importantly, the vets had him trotting here some 20 or 30 minutes ago, just a final check, and I must say he looked beautiful and free in his action. It's a big day for Australian racing. You know, this horse has helped put Australia on the map by winning the Japan Cup and certainly all the other races that he's been able to dominate here. And I was presumed to be a very tense moment for all concerned from Lindsay Park.
That sentiment was tangible in the mounting yard, as the bandages on Better Loosen Up's forelegs were a legacy of the problems of the past. Better Loosen Up was the star amongst the 7 starters, which included the Melbourne Cup runner-up Shiver's Revenge and the above-average sprinter miler Storaya. The race accelerated from the 800 metres, with Damien Oliver making a daring dash for home on Storaya.
And now Storaya sprinted fast to hit the front and rounding the turner. Storaya making every post. A winner is kicked away about 4 to 5 lengths to Specific Prince and Kadima. Shiver's Revenge over on the inside and deeper on the track. Better Loosen Up is starting to wind up. Storaya's got a big break on them down past the 400 metre mark. Better Loosen Up's about 4 lengths behind it. Shiver's Revenge followed by Kadima. Storaya well clear with about 300 metres left to go from Better Loosen Up, followed by Kadim, who was checked. Shiver's Revenge is finishing fast down the outside. Storaya starting to weaken. Shiver's Revenge is picking him up rapidly. Better Loosen Up can't go on. Shiver's Revenge hit the front. Shiver's Revenge. Shiver's Revenge moved away to win by a length and a half. Storaya. Better Loosen Up is third, followed by Big Colony.
Whilst there was a sense of disappointment surrounding Better Loosen Up's defeat, he'd won his last 7 races prior to breaking down. David Hayes and Mick Dittman, who was having his first ride on the gelding, remain optimistic about the future.
I think he'll come back. I don't think there's any worries about that. You know, so he's a long time out of racing, and you know, although he looked pretty fit, it's still a bit of a task to ask. And he wanted to ping a bit out of the barrier. He was up fairly close in a slow run race to the crossing, you know, which all those things don't suit him. You know, and then they had to dash home their last 400, and he was giving them 5 or 6 length start. Great effort, the winner by all means too. But you know, I think if he'd have gone straight, if I could have got him out round the leader, he'd have made a good race of it.
Dittman did say he couldn't fold his action at any stage. Then tomorrow morning, if he's pulled up well, we'll get him home, just give him a little bit more work and hopefully bring back the old horse.
Well, talking about bringing back the old horse, Keith, you have had an update on Better Loosen Up. How has he pulled up this morning?
Yes, he's fine, Bruce, not a problem at all. He's been for a bit of a trot and a walk at Flemington. We went yesterday to see a champ, didn't we? And we may have seen one. It was just a different one than we expected.
Shiver's Revenge, who Greg rode yesterday and who Bart Cummings was very, very impressed with. And why not? I spoke to Bart after the race.
He trialled pretty well at Geelong a couple of weeks ago and won ridiculously. He's similar to what he did today, really. So he's never been better, and I think he'll just keep going.
Will you keep him and Let's Elope apart and then run them in the Australian Cup together?
Well, that decision will be made after Let's Elope runs next week in the All Stakes at Sandown. There's quite a few races to be won between now and the Australian Cup. It's quite likely they will challenge one another in the Australian Cup and Better Loosen Up as well. It'll be a promoter's dream, as they say.
It sure will. What a trio, and you throw in Mannerism and a couple of others. Well, Greg, Keith's intimated that we might have seen something special there yesterday. It looked like that to us. Bart was buoyant yesterday. He was saying it was like the old days, wasn't it, when my stayers used to sprint. Remember Lightfingers first up winning and Galilee flying home? What do you think about Shiver's Revenge?
Yeah, the last 200 metres he come out of the ground and ran over top of them, and he won as he liked in the finish. First up, he can only but improve from here on.
Keith, this is a ridiculous thing in a way to say, but do you feel if this horse stays sound and he doesn't get too much weight, on his run in last year's Melbourne Cup, he's going to take some beating, isn't he? It looks the perfect race for him.
Oh, it does. You know, he went into that Melbourne Cup with a hoof problem only 24 hours before the race and still ran second to Let's Elope. Bart's stable is just studded with stars, and to that extent, Greg, you have made a decision. In fact, you asked Bart whether you could transfer to Sydney for the autumn. Is that still on?
Yes. I realised that a lot of these horses are going to head up towards Sydney after the carnival here, and I asked him if I could follow the team up to Sydney, and he said yes, it's fine with him as long as it's fine with the owners, and he said he couldn't see any problems there.
Greg, what about the filly that you had such success on in the spring, Richfield Lady? Is she close to returning to racing?
She's having a few little minor problems with her feet, and she's not galloping at this stage, but she's doing pace work, and she's probably, they're going to try and get her ready for the Oaks in Sydney, but she's got a little cloud over her at the moment.
Greg, 4 winners for you yesterday, 5 out of 5 on the 7th of January at Flemington. You were never the leading rider in New Zealand. Are you a better rider here in Australia?
Well, no, I've changed nothing. All I'm doing is probably getting on a better class of animal over here. It's very competitive over here, in New Zealand as well, but I couldn't be happy with the move I've done.
No, and to land the Cummings stable, I mean, as Keith said, this is like Bart in the 60s and 70s. I mean, Bart went through a patch where he struggled. He's certainly not struggling. He's challenging Hayes at the moment very strongly. Let's Elope versus Shiver's Revenge. Fill us in, you know the two of them. Who's the best?
Well, today or yesterday what we've seen Shiver's Revenge do, I mean, Let's Elope's going to have to be very good to keep up with him now.
She is.
And she's proved that in the Melbourne Cup and Caulfield Cup, so it's going to be very interesting. But Leon Corstens, he does a fine job with these horses, does all the groundwork, and he turns them out looking excellent.
He sure does. He turned another one out looking excellent yesterday in the Debonair. This is a race that Greg was suspended after the race. Very interesting protest here. I know Greg came back and felt that he'd definitely get it, but John Sadler and Darren Gauci were amazed that they lost the protest. You see the interference very late in the race. Let's go to the race, the Debonair yesterday, and watch the interference over the last 50 metres.
Is still disrupt by a half length. Canonise is second, improving quickly, a length and a half. Our Bowl Cruiser. In behind them, Dapper's Hope as they straighten a bit further back as Coolong Rhoda. And the next one is Walter and pull to the outside. Jolly Old Mac is starting to wind up. And Mango's Lunch is last of all as they come down past the 400. Canonise has taken the leader. About a length and a half, Dapper's Hope. And here comes Jolly Old Mac down the outside with a great run. Canonise about to be tackled by Dapper's Hope. And Jolly Old Mac is joining in rapidly. And Coolong Road is going with them. Jolly Old Mac has taken the lead with 100 metres left to go. Coolong Road is making a race of it. Jolly Old Mac, Coolong Road, Jolly Old Mac just in front. He's won. Jolly Old Mac by a head to Coolong Road. Dapper's Hope or Walter for third. Mango's Lunch behind them.
Greg, very confident you'd get the protest?
Well, I wouldn't say confident, but I felt that we had a very good case going into the inquiry room. As it turned out, we were vindicated, but the head-on shot does show where Jolly Old Mac does come in on 2 occasions and bump me just short of the winning post. And yes, that did affect the result.
Gee, I'd love to be able to show everybody the head-on shot. Keith and I went yesterday to speak to the chairman of stewards, Pat Lawler. The head-on film was shown at the races yesterday, but Pat was unable to give it to us because apparently there is a committee decision at the VRC that stewards' films will be shown on course, but not on television a day later. The theory behind it, more people will go to the races. Well, I can't believe that, and it is disappointing we can't see it today because I think there are a lot of people out there that couldn't go to the races yesterday and would love to have a look at it. Anyway, that's enough of that, Keith.
OK. Bruce, strange circumstances there in the eyes of the stewards. The chief culprit in that set of circumstances was Greg. Yet he wasn't first past the post, yet they gave the race to the chief culprit. Has that happened before?
Well, I can't comment on that, but yes, it is ironic that the rider of Jolly Old Mac, who did cause the interference to me, was not suspended. He was reprimanded. And Greg Hall's mount did protest against myself, and that was dismissed, but I was suspended.
Sounds like you're building a case, Greg, for an appeal.
Well, I don't want to go into an appeal unless I've got a chance of winning.
For sure. Okay, the Debonair, that's a lead up to the Australian Guineas. The Vanity's the fillies version of the Debonair, and yesterday I thought Stephen King rode very, very well to get Northern Biss to the line.
Back behind them, Tallack Rising making up ground as next to length into Southeastern Star, followed by Rags No More and Kimberley Bay as last. 600 metres outer, and Lambert Miss had raced up on the outside with Dreamdale to go to the lead from Johnston's Girl as they straighten up. Northern Bisque is in behind them, and wider on the track as Tallack Rising. They're homeward bound. 450 metres left to go, and Dreamdale on the inside has taken the lead. Northern Bisque was running on well, and wider on the track, Tallack Rising is joining in as they come to the 300. Southeastern Star getting a run on the inside. Northern Bisque in the centre. Tallack Rising settling down to fight it out from Southeastern Star along the rail, joining in. Lusty Habit, Rags No More down the extreme outside. Southeastern Star on the inside has got a head in front of Northern Bisque close to home. Northern Bisque is fighting on well. It's Southeastern Star and Northern Bisque in a bobbing finish. Northern Bisque, Southeastern Star very close. Third home, Rags No More.
Yes, it's a similar ride by Stephen King as Greg rode on Coolong Road. They had a horse challenging strongly but didn't panic and were able to get them to the line. Harry White suspended from that race as well for interference at about the 300.
Yes, Paddy Payne's mount, Johnston's Girl, I think its name was, almost falling there. That was quite marked. I doubt whether Harry will appeal.
No, after looking at that, I think you might be right. I think Harry might take a holiday and cop it sweet, but we shouldn't tell Harry what to do because he's been around longer than... oh, no, he hasn't. I was going to say longer than both of us.
I think so. Mick Dittman, incidentally, is considering an appeal against the severity. He accepted that he...
knocked Kadim over on Better Loosen Up, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bit unlucky for Mick. I mean, he's come down for the one ride, basically. He had a couple of other rides and he's copped a suspension at a bad time.
Yes, it could cost him the ride on either Joanne in Sydney next week or Naturalism and Sedestin at Sandown here.
OK, talking of Sydney, Regina Madre was impressive yesterday in winning. Enjoy Dancing first up. I think he's a very good horse. Let's have a look at Regina Madre and see how she made it 3 out of 3 for the Jack Denham stable.
As they go to the side of the track now, they've got the 650 in their sights. It's Regina Madre doing it easily, 3 parts trooping. Similar margin, Sats third on the fence and tracking the favourite for home. Then Jim's Bet inside secured from Jabalay wide. Enjoy Dancing is back second last, and Dema Dahar is last. Into the stretch now, 400 out, and Regina Madre nicely clear over a length on trooping. Third is Sats, then Jim's Bet, followed by Secured. But approaching the 250, and Regina Madre went further in front. She's 3 on Sats, trooping Jim's Bet Secured. Then came Dema Dahar running on, but Regina Madre's rider took a look over the shoulder. He's nicely clear, in no danger of defeat, Ken Russell, and Regina Madre wins easily from Sats. Third home was trooping.
Yeah, it's a good win. She is going very well, a fast filly, and has done well with Jack Denham. Greg, congratulations. Bad luck about the suspension. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. You are riding quite magnificently, but Cummings is training superbly, and things are looking rosy.
Yes, thank you, Bruce.
Good on you, Greg. And Keith, don't go away because we'll have a look at the William Reid Stakes. Do you remember who won that last Monday?
Oh, yes, wraparound. Smart mare.
She sure is, and she was tipped by a smart fellow. OK, we'll take a break. Back with more after this.
Now the show that's...
Stay with Sportsworld, still to come. Better Loosen Up and his return to racing at Flemington. Grant Kenny, already an Olympic medalist, hoping for more glory in Barcelona. Paul Wade and Eddie Thompson on the eve of the third and final soccer test against Sweden. The Thredbo Classic, the Mountain Challenge of 1992. Diving and a wrap of the International Series. The America's Cup and how the Australian contingents are going. And parachuting, the Australian Championships, where the judges have a different point of view.
I think I'd like to try that, but it'll be an interesting story. Well, Keith did tip us all wrap around last Sunday. He said that he felt that she could win the William Reid Stakes. She did it 4-1. It was a William Reid that I felt was slightly down on some of the great ones we've had in recent years, but take nothing away from this mare. She's improving all the time.
Yeah, I think that's fair comment. It was the start, Bruce, of what turned out to be not a good week for John Sadler. His youngster Jack Pill started favourite, and of course he trained Jolly Old Mac first past the post yesterday. And in fact, John Sadler threatened to hand in his badge after the stewards dismissed his protest yesterday. He's unrepentant this morning either. he said that he still believes he should not have lost the race on protest.
It was a very interesting one, and I think it's one that will be argued about. And that's one of the reasons that I would love to have been able to show the head-on film today, because the video of it today. Redelva, do you think we might have seen... He's been a great old horse, but he's not firing either. I thought he might have run a better race than the William Reid.
Yeah, I thought he would have too. I think, well, he's 8 now, isn't he? Yeah. And I think his best is behind him.
Ready to Explode, didn't do a lot. Now, John Maher's got three-year-olds. Star Video's already had a problem, is out for the autumn.
Right.
Star of the Realm resumes next week. He looks really special. And Ready to Explode, I was slightly disappointed with his effort.
Yes, so was I, but I think he will improve. He probably needed the run, but Star of the Realm, the clash between Star of the Realm and Naturalism next Saturday will be a beauty, as to the return of Let's Elope. It's all happening, isn't it?
The autumn's tremendous.
Yeah,
in some ways, it's as exciting as the spring, because reputations are made in the spring, I think, and confirmed in the autumn often, and that's what we're seeing this season. Let's go back and have a look at Wrap Around anyway.
Okay.
She was challenging Jack Pill very strongly when we picked them up at the 600 in the William Reid. This from the Valley last Monday.
Up past the 600-metre mark, Jack Pill is the leader by a half length to Wrap Around. A length to Araya, get a lovely on the inside there, and he was followed closely by Sonic Express, and back behind them is Rechabite and Redelva making ground on the outside, followed by Dr. Grace. Ready to Explode, Prince O'Leary, and Milady's Jewelers dropped out to last. They're making the home turn. Wrap Around moving up on the outside to tackle Jack Pill as they straighten up with 200 to go. The whips are out. Jack Pill on the inside, Wrap Around together by 2 lengths to Storaya. Wrap Around on the outside, Jack Pill is fighting back gamely on the rails. Wrap Around just in front, and Storaya finishing very fast. Wrap Around is the leader, close to home. Wrap Around will win it. Wrap Around is won from either Storaya or Jack Pill for the minor placings.
Yes, Wrap Around getting the money, and it's interesting with Ready to Explode, because Naturalism also didn't fire first up. Maybe these 3-year-olds will need a run or two.
Right, and a big race win there for Kevin Forrester, standing in for Michael Clark, who's suspended, to win that race. I think it's worth more than $250,000, isn't it, Bruce? And Kevin Forrester got his biggest result.
And I think he'd been beaten in that race a couple of years earlier by Lightning Ben in a photo finish, so he was pretty happy about all that. Well, we've been talking about jockeys and talking to Greg Childs. A very funny incident during the week, funny in many ways, at Kembla Grange at the barrier, where one of the horses was holding up the start. A lot of the jockeys were taking their weight off their mounts. They were standing in the stalls, and the stalls opened, and quite a few of the horses went off, a couple with riders. They're the boys sitting there waiting for their horses. The horses were arrested, most of them. The attendants, as usual, doing a very good job. A couple of them trying to get away, and finally we got to the race, and this is what happened. The odds-on favourite winning.
But it's going to win easily. Well, we've had to wait about half an hour to collect $1.30 and money back.
Yeah, had to wait a half an hour to get $1.30 for your dollar. But
sadly, that was day one of Australian racing being beamed live into Los Angeles. So
is that correct?
Not a good impression, was it?
Well, speaking of the United States, at Aqueduct, a guy called Tom Durkin, who's a commentator over there, had this problem, Keith, when he went to call one of the races during the week.
Around the clubhouse turn they go. Who's in front? I just don't know. But what a beautiful sight, ladies and gentlemen. Horses in full flight. Quarter went in 24-1. Calling races in a fog, not too much fun. Should be somewhere in the stretch. And they're very close to the finish line, and I can't tell. Good luck.
Not bad.
I love his honesty.
Ever felt like that in the morning, Keith?
Yesterday was Collingwood Day, as we mentioned, at Flemington. One bookmaker on the rails, Brian Mann, wore a Collingwood tie, and I said, I didn't know you were a Collingwood supporter, which of course is the team everyone loves or loves to hate. He said, I hate them. He said, but I thought it might attract some extra business today. It is all about show business.
It sure is. Well, let's hope for Brian's sake that he had some success. Good on you, Keith. We've got a terrific day next week at Sandown, a big day in Adelaide and also Sydney, and you'll be back next Sunday in the program.
Sure will, Bruce.
Good punning, Keith. We take a break and back with more after this.
Success in the 1990s. 5 top Australian achievers show you